Heidi is in charge of that program, and it's named after the very famous Spanish donkey, Platero. And again, if you speak Spanish and you want to read a great epic poem, Platero comes highly recommended. So, Heidi.
Great, thanks so much, Eric, and thank you for having me here today. It's so great to be in a room filled with other long-eared lovers. A little bit about myself as well as the Humane Society of the United States, although Eric's pretty much covered that. The Humane Society of the United States, the largest animal advocacy group in the country with over 11 million supporters. I have been with the Humane Society for about 8 years. Prior to that, I was a wild horse biologist with the BLM. And I came to the Humane Society to pursue more fertility control research options that were available to me at that time, but other things have opened up. But I will also talk about some fertility control work that we're hoping to do shortly with burros. And as Eric also mentioned, Platero is named after the famous book and Nobel Prize winner. So I won't go into that. So one of the main goals and one of the things I'm most excited about talking with all of you here in the room is about how we as a group can elevate the status of burros. I think one thing we've seen with all of the presentations up to this point have been how there's so much more research, so much more awareness around horses. And we really want to encourage elevating the status of burros with research and training and education and promotion of just how amazing these animals truly are. So that is all of your homework assignment. Next year, I'd love for you to all come back and tell me what you did this year to elevate the status of burros in your community, in your country. Some of the other, so the Platero Project started in 2013, a fairly sizable grant. 50% of the funds will focus on education and adoption, 50% on fertility control research. It's a 5-year program, and I'll talk about each of those items here, what we're planning on doing with them. But elevating the status of burros, I'd love to hear all of your ideas about how you're going to do that in the upcoming years. As everybody before me has already noted, burros are protected under the Wild and Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act of 1971. In that legislation, they are living symbols of the historic and pioneering spirit of the West. They contribute to the diversity of life forms within the nation, and they enrich the lives of the American people. And as we've seen in all of the presentations before me, they are bold and brave against predators, they are thinkers, they are not stubborn, they are extremely well adapted to life in a very harsh environment. So some of the goals that are with the Platero Project. In 2007, 2008, there was a rapid decline in the adoptions of burros. However, the removals continue to remain static. So between that time frame and 2013, there are now, or were, the beginning of 1,300 burros in government holding facilities. Prior to that, there was a pretty steady adoption market. When they were removed from the wild, they were pretty readily adopted. So it's just been within the past few years that this has occurred. So before I talk about the adoption work that we're doing, we are also focusing on some fertility control research. As Dr. Liu has noted previously, There is not a lot of work done on donkeys, as in many of the other work that we've heard about this weekend. So we do currently have a proposal into the Bureau of Land Management for support and permission to do some fertility control work using PZP on burros in the wild. Again, there has only been one study, and Erwin already covered that previously, a small study on the Virgin Islands, but it did show us some good data and some good things. One thing we hope to avoid doing this research is helicopter roundups, and we really would like to focus on more bait trapping. As Amy mentioned earlier, it's very possible in many of the areas where these animals live. They live in such harsh environments where there isn't a lot of vegetation, although I think this picture is from Texas or someplace where the vegetation was a little more lush. So that they can be brought into areas where either they could be darted or worked through a corral type system, where then they can be vaccinated. There are some differences in the social structure, which again has been covered already, with horses and burros. Specifically, horses seem to show a much smaller breeding and foaling period, where burros have a much broader spectrum, so that might affect some of our results, but we will see. So we're hoping that we'll begin some of that work with the proposal. We hope to hear back in January, so hopefully next year at this time I can come back and report to you some of the work. One of our goals was to help place those 1,300 animals that are in BLM holding facilities now. And one of the tools that we've identified to help us do that is the Platero Project's burro training program. We're offering a monetary incentive to trainers who will pick up a burro from adoption, or after they're approved, pick a burro up from a BLM facility or adoption, take that burro home, gentle it, leading, haltering, picking up its feet, getting on and off trailer, sort of the basics, then finding a qualified adoptive home for them, and then we will pay the trainer to do that work. This program has been amazingly successful we've just been doing it now for 1 year. We have over 125 animals that have come through the program all over the country, have had nothing but wonderful stories from both trainers and adopters, all over the country, over 20 states, just a million nice, wonderful, great stories. The program is exceeding our expectations, so much that we're currently seeking more funding to grow the program. One of the other things that we're really focusing on, and it's a real priority for the Platero Project, is we're trying to enhance the sale program. I don't think Amy covered this in her presentation, but if a wild horse or burro is 11 years or older or offered for adoption 3 times and not adopted, they become sale eligible, meaning they can be purchased for a very small amount, usually $25, and there is not a lot of requirements that you need to meet or follow up. You receive instant title to that animal. And for those reasons, we are very concerned about those animals. They are at the most risk for ending up somewhere bad. So we've really focused on this. I'm happy to say we have, in the year and a half we've been doing this, I believe it's approaching 200 sale burros that we have placed in either sanctuaries or with private individuals whom we feel are fit for a safe home for those animals. One of the things that we've just recently done, and you might have seen a lot of it on Facebook, is The BLM recently announced a plan to ship 100 burros to Guatemala that had become sale eligible through internet adoptions. So they 3 consecutive adoptions this summer, put animals up for adoption, and only a very few of them got adopted. So they received their strikes very quickly, and they were all between the ages of 2 and 8. And we've been working very hard just this past 2 months. My life has been consumed with finding homes for them, and I'm happy to report that we've found over 100 homes for the 180 animals that were available. So we still have some available, and I'm working closely with the BLM on transporting them to different locations where people can pick them up. So if you're interested, please see me. I'd love to help find places for those guys. And thanks to many individuals, some of those are in this room, for the hard work over the past couple months since that announcement was made by the BLM. It's become a priority for us to ensure that they don't end up being sent to Guatemala. Currently, the plan is not to send any, but that doesn't mean they won't do this again in the future. So we're also working on some legislative avenues to try to prevent that from happening. But again, the Fleet of Angels, which I'll talk about in a minute, TMR Rescue, Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue, Hope Equine Rescue, Victoria McCullough, and other individuals, private individuals in this room and all over the country who have stepped up and offered homes for these animals that were at risk. So one of the other things that I'm working really closely with the BLM as well as public, adopters, trainers, is BLM historically has not been known for their good marketing or PR or customer service skills. And so we are really trying to work with them and help them to just do some easy, figuring out where the most adopters are, where the nearest facilities are, letting these individuals know well in advance there's opportunities in their areas, things like that really has been helpful. This is an example of this sale program that I've been working on. This map was made by Elaine Nash with the Fleet of Angels, who has been helping immensely with this project. These are all points all across the country where either animals are being picked up or sent to or driven by different individuals who have offered homes to these at-risk animals. So one of the other parts of our work is helping support a transportation network for burros specifically. The Fleet of Angels is a equine group that focuses on at-risk equines and finding them homes or transportation to areas. So if they know of an animal at risk in one area, they have a network of over 6,000 individuals who have offered either stopover points for equines, or offered to help transport equines within a specific mile radius of their home. There are also professional transporters on their network as well. So I encourage you all to go to this website and sign up, even if it's just letting some weary traveler transporting an at-risk equine. I encourage you to sign up on their website to help them, and especially for our long-eared friends. So again, like I mentioned, marketing and promotion, not one of BLM's strong points. So we're working a lot with social media, getting things out there so adopters know when and where animals are and when they're coming. We've got, plans for adoptions, well into next year. We know they're happening, so we know we have adopters in the area. So we're working on, adoptions eight months in advance. One of the things we've done to help promotion of burro adoptions is we hosted our first annual Great Burro Turnaround in Oregon last year. It was a great success. 10 trainers, 10 burros, 100 days. They came back to compete with those animals in both a halter and a trail lead-in class. It was a great event, and at the end of the event, all the animals were adopted. And we're going to host another one this year in June. And if you're interested in participating, adopting, just coming to watch, let me know, and I'll be happy to get you more information. So I think I'll wrap it up there so that we can have time for some discussion. But I do want to remind you of your homework assignments, and I would love to hear your ideas and thoughts and on how we can all leave today and help elevate the status of burros in the coming months and years. What different things that we can all do to make that happen. Oh, there's my contact information, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. The Platero Project has no relationship, nor does HSUS, with the Heifer International. That was the BLM, when they announced the 100 burros were to be shipped. It was with some kind of agreement or partnership with the BLM and Heifer International. I don't think that relationship was ever really fully developed, but that was the idea behind their work, and we were not supportive of that idea. Guatemala has a lot of burros, and I don't think the American people are keen on having American burros sent there to live a life as beast of burden. Well, our program works specifically with the BLM program, so the BLM's requirements do not require that. However, when we choose our trainers for our program, we do try to encourage that they are, that the trainer is very knowledgeable about burros and their behaviors, and that there need to be with another equine of some sort. That said, that is not with 100% of the burros we have adopted through our program, but I would venture to say it's probably about 95%.
The way our adoption project or program goes, and I kind of glossed over a lot of things in the interest of time during my presentation, is for 1 year, the people, the adopters, are basically fostering the animal for us, because we want to make sure that these animals end up in a good home. I mean, that is our ideal. So basically, I call it our 1 year return policy. If for some reason your life situation changes or it's not going to work out, yes, the BLM will take back what we call untitled animals. Those animals that are untitled, meaning they're still government property and under the fostering thing, are still under the protection of the Wild Horses and Burros Act. Heidi was dealing with what we call the animals that were already titled, and they lose their government protection. So I'll let Heidi address how you guys handle that.
Well, we're working with both the sale authority and the adoptable animals, but the Platero Project is dedicated to ensuring that those animals are taken care of for their lifetime, and we are following up with the adopters, with the trainers, all the time. So if there are problems, we are dedicated to solving them and finding new places for them to go. But one of the things that, with the development of our training program, we're hopeful that we can, decrease the number that are returned. With this training program, we've given these burros some basic skills that they'll have for the rest of their life, and with hopes that will greatly eliminate the rehoming rate of these animals.
The BLM, we have certain regulations that we follow. What you're talking about, the situation of a hoarder, for example, will be handled by animal control if there were titled animals involved. If there are untitled animals involved, our regulations state that a person can only adopt 4 animals per year. So if you want to adopt more than 4 animals, we have to come out and do specific clearances and make sure it's going to be okay. So we have like this much wiggle room with some of our regulations that we work under. If the animals are titled and they're privately owned, that would be a county issue. For example, your local animal for law enforcement. We see that happening. We're probably going to just do everything in our power, you know, what we call the professional judgment gray world, to discourage that. We don't want, like I said, we don't want to see our animals end up in a bad situation. That's not what this is about.
And for us, the trainers that we bring into our program, we are very picky about, and we make sure that they're aware of the kind of adopter that they've chosen for the animal that they have. So we try to look at it from that level, having the trainers that really care about the animals. They're not in this to make any money. They want to help, and they help ensure that the animals are placed in good homes. Policy: they have to sign a contract with the Platero Project to do this, what they're supposed to do with the training, and within the contract it states that they can't accept money for the animals that they train. They accept the money from the Platero Project once the adoption has occurred.
We try not to adopt out foals. But we had the young animals we adopt out will be weanlings. One's off their mom. We do have partnerships. With the Platero Project, we do have local groups, 4-H groups, for example, that do work with our yearlings. We also have a partner called the Mustang Heritage Foundation, which people may have heard of, and they do what we're calling a youth and yearling program, where the kids train the horses and they haven't touched burros because Heidi's got that, and then they adopt out the animals. So, does that kind of answer your question?
And as far as the Platero Project is concerned, it's something that we would be open to hearing from, but have not been approached by anyone for those specific things, and it would be on a case-by-case basis depending on the organization and whatnot.
This was happening in the Washington D.C. level, so I don't even have the full story, but from what I understand, that was part of the agreement we were going to make with Heifer International. Was we wanted to know what was happening to these animals. We weren't just saying, oh, here's 100 burros, bye, thanks. We wanted to make sure that they were following up with them, and I think that was part of the agreement that we were going to have with them. So even though legally speaking, in the black and white legal terms, once those animals are titled, they're no longer our responsibility. That doesn't mean that we no longer care about them. We try to do our best to make sure that the animals that are being sold to people, they're not going to end up in bad places. That's on all of our paperwork.
It just once. It's my party, so I get to butt in when I want to. One comment I have on Guatemala, working in Mexico and Guatemala and Nicaragua, there are a lot of unwanted burros of Mexico.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Right across the border, and some of them are looking at maybe getting shot. So if I was going to promote working donkeys in Guatemala, regardless of however you feel about that, I could get them a whole lot easier.
Right.
So.
Well, I will remind everybody in my very diplomatic, politically correct, so I don't get in trouble way, there was a lot of internal turmoil in the BLM about this project. So you can interpret that however you want.
Amy, we have a question from the webinar.
Oh.
And I'm going to run in here with one of my own questions again, addressed to Dr. Lou and Amy and Heidi, all of you. And okay, if I was going to sell something, That is donkeys. And I realize you guys aren't selling these for profit, but you're trying to distribute donkeys, which is sort of like selling wadgets or something like that. What I would do is I'd do a little market research. And I would find out what is the market for my wadget or my burro. Does anybody have any idea, and have there been any studies looking at how many homes, how many people in the United States are capable of properly adopting and caring for a donkey or a horse, as far as that goes? And, you know, I mean, I don't know the answer to that. Maybe it's, we have, you know, 3,000 donkeys, and there's a need for 30,000, in which case the problem is they just need to be marketed better and it'll all go great. But maybe we got 3,000 donkeys and there's homes for 100, in which case you got a big problem. And the people I know that have sanctuaries, you know, Mark over there's got, I don't know how many thousand donkeys now.
Right.
Yeah, and they're not just pulling out of your place there 50 a day in featherlight trailers, right? So I guess that's my question. Is anybody addressing that problem? So we have this group of unwanted animals. How many possible homes are there for?
Well, I've got an answer for that. The BLM actually did do a marketing study. We hired a marketing firm, Fleischman Hillard, several years, at this point ago, to address that issue. But the BLM's bigger problem until recently has been the horses. Burros, we usually got the burros adopted. They're pretty adoptable until recently. But we have done some marketing studies using GIS and census data, but this is not up to us. This is up to all of us, I think, as far as promoting the usefulness and the desire. Why would anybody want a burro? We don't use them here in this country. So I think I'm throwing that back at you. This is up to all of us donkey long-ear supporters to promote these animals and their value. And I know we've got lots of, I mean, this is a huge topic, but I don't think it's going to be up to just the Platero Project or the BLM or researchers. It's got to be up to all of us as donkey owners and supporters to help promote what wonderful animals they are.
And like I say, because somebody has to be the jerk, and I'm going to be the jerk.
Okay, fine.
What I'm going to say to that is, but you have a program that is looking at solving a problem. How big is the problem really? Because you can tell how many animals you have, but if your goal is to find homes for them, part of that problem is how many homes are there. So if you're saying, I'm going to have a program and I'm going to solve this unwanted animal program, but it is an insoluble problem because there is 0.05% of the places I need to put them, then you've got to start thinking about other options.
Right. Which you've
Just
just
saying.
outlined perfectly, you know, why we're really looking hard at fertility control on these herds and the need for effective fertility control.
So,
Yes, we use the term burros and donkeys interchangeably. Some of the domestic donkey breeders will probably may take different opinion from the, because on the burro program, generally people think of burros as the wild burros, and anything domestic are considered donkeys, and that's just a very generalized term.
I know that when Dr. Liu presented his work earlier, one of his requirements was 90% effective. And I think with some of the recent studies, there's been a lot of discussion amongst the researchers, do we really need it to be that effective? Right now, we don't have a lot of other choices. So if what we have is 70% effective, I think that's a pretty good choice versus nothing. So the jury's out on how effective it really needs to be. But I think it's important that the BLM needs to be using what they have right now while we're trying to figure out what's better in the future. But the tools that that they have available to them now, should be utilized to the fullest extent.
This is here is a topic of a 3-day conference in and of itself. And again, thank you very much, Erwin and Amy and Heidi, for